Okay, hi. Um, so, as you may or may not know, the Rixer has made a video called The Greatest Jack and Daxter Speedrunner of All Time, and I am the subject of said video. So what I wanted to do is just kind of like watch through it and react to it and maybe give some more story, I guess, inside of certain aspects. So, I mean, yeah, let's watch.
Good afternoon. Rivalries in competition can spark amazing storylines between two or more people. When the true number one is still in question, it pushes people harder to try and claim the title. Speedrunning is no exception to this concept. Over the past decade, speedrunning has sparked some of my favorite rivalries. The runners battling it out are striving for first place at whatever cost, even if it means leaving the others in the dust. In Super Mario 64, we've had Ponke vs. Cheese. In Super Metroid, we've seen Zost and Behemoth. And in GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, there is the classic rivalry that has lasted over a decade at this point between Ace and Clemens. But sometimes, games have a champion. A person so dominant, no person can match their skill and dedication. A person who seems so unreachable that a rivalry isn't even in the question. They simply destroy the game. For the past 4 years, this is the case with Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. There's been many great runners throughout the game's history, but one man stands out from the rest. On the 13th of February 2020, a full world record sweep in every single major and miscellaneous category of the game was achieved.
That was the second time it ever happened. The first time I sweeped the game was back in 2017? Question mark. Yeah. And I'll let you know exactly what it happened to. It comes up in the video.
This is the story and legacy of Outrageous Josh.
Hey, Lobo.
The humble beginnings of Outrageous Josh go back to October of 2014, where he started taking interest in speedrunning and was doing offline runs and practice without recording software. It wasn't until almost a full year later that on June 10th of 2015,
Shoutouts Duck Life, by
we
the
saw
way.
the man play for the very first time. And the quality was, questionable.
A banger.
But here we have a rising star posting his first time with proof. The time achieved would have put him in 5th place, with a bit over 3.5 minutes behind the world record, which is very respectable for your first run with proof. Josh was an early experimenter. After his first uploaded any percent run, he tried his hands at different categories, even if he felt like maybe he could improve his any percent time. Orbless is a category where you complete the game without collecting a single precursor orb, which makes for some tricky and unique movement to maneuver around them. Josh found a strong liking to this category and focused on it for a bit.
Still
On
my
September
favorite
5th,
category.
2015, Outrageous Josh would claim his first world record in Jak and Daxter in the Orbless category with 1:14:37, beating the world record by almost 2 minutes.
And nobody really even cared about this category until I had came and yeah, got Reki in it.
I did it, man. I did it.
The category wasn't quite as optimized or as prestigious as, let's say, any percent or 100%, but it was a good start for Josh. Sometimes overcoming a barrier like this is what can drive you to push for your next goal. Josh would dive into the 100% category as well. His PB was obviously very beatable, seeing as he only completed his first run, but I think it's a unique strategy to play every category out there to familiarize
See my
yourself
first
better with
run.
the game's mechanics.
You can see my first run on the right was actually a 2:27:27, but like I didn't record that. Yeah, so the first one I actually uploaded was the 2:14:57.
And that's something I don't see a lot of people doing. To be fair, he was most likely just approaching the game this way because he was just having fun with the game and wanted to explore every avenue. But the differences in categories have enough variance that the understanding of information and mechanics will pay off long term. Josh would go back to any percent in Jak, but he would also dabble in other speed games such as Sonic Adventure
Dude.
2 Battle.
Love
On
this
November
game
21st,
still.
2015, Josh became the 5th ever person to complete Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy in under an hour. This time, only 2 minutes off the record, and with a capture card as well.
A bad one at that. I hated that capture card. As you might be able to tell, I hated it. It's funny because the run before this, let me give you a little bit of context. I wasn't very excited about this because I was kind of pissed off at the fact that well, before this run I had gotten a 1 flat, exactly 1 hour, no minutes, no seconds, just a straight up 1 hour. And I was very, very close to getting the 59-59, and the only reason I didn't was because I was trying to, as I was trying to split for the 59-59, I was going for the white eco, and I guess I missed the white eco because I was so focused on splitting that I didn't get the 59-59. So, yeah, there's that. So that's why I was like, you know, whatever.
Finally.
At this point, Josh's skill was good enough that he started making tutorials on his YouTube channel to help out newer runners get into the game, while simultaneously implementing harder strategies into his own runs, such as claw skip or lava walk, whichever you prefer. On the claw boss fight after the second hub, you can grab a certain rock and clip into the lava surface where you can then walk past the boss. Even now in 2020, this trick is still a dice roll, and on a good day, this trick is maybe a 1 in 4 at best. And if you die, you lose 30
generous.
seconds, even upwards of
1
a
in
minute
4
and
is
a half
pretty
in some
generous.
categories. But this never discouraged Josh. He saw the other runners above him go for it. It was time that he went for it as well. His movement entering 2016 was starting to get really good now, up to par with the best of the best. In Orbless, where he set his first record ever, he was beaten by Headstrong a couple of times, but he took the record back. They battled it out for a while, but Josh, for the first time, came out on top. Later that year, in 100%, Josh snuck in his first world record despite being somewhat of an underdog.
And it's funny, this is actually one of the things that wasn't really covered here, and it's kind of really hard to document, but there was like a real there was like a 3-man rivalry between me, Piggle, and Saxman in 100%. And there were multiple times where I did not come out on top. It was usually Sax or Piggle. And but yeah, I had, you know, I eventually came out on top, of course, but it wasn't for a while.
In the category, Piggleberry and Saxman definitely had the upper hand on the category for a while, but Josh managed to show that he too is a force to be reckoned with.
I snuck in some
80%,
recce's
however,
at that
was
time.
The real test. It had been dominated for 2 years by the one player who also got the first ever time below 1 hour, Headstrong. In 2016, Josh managed to creep closer to Headstrong's time, but it took until 2017 for his skills to develop even further to take the record for the first time ever in history with his 56.24 on May 31st.
Okay. This is kind of a big one. Okay, so back in 2016, when Headstrong got the 56.35, that was like the be-all, end-all of this category, pretty much. And for a while, I was grinding to get to that level. And then Lava Tube Skip was found, and it was like an actual decent method. And any percent, no LTS didn't exist for a while. It was literally just any percent. And so what was optimal, you know, was to do Lava Tube Skip. And yeah, there was no category that existed to, you know, try and beat the 56.35. And so what I was doing for a while, well, this is the reason why it took so long for me to get to 56.24, as you see in this video, is because literally no LTS didn't exist for a few months. And yeah, we were just out grinding Lava Tube Skip and trying to get, you know, good at that. But and then when no LTS, when they finally broke it into 2 categories, 80% and no LTS, that's when I went back to no LTS to get this time. So it took a while. I wasn't grinding this the entire time. Woo! Another thing I should add. There were 1 frames in Final Boss that were found. But I was a little stubborn, and I decided that I wanted to beat Headstrong's record without using any of the new strats that we had found since her time. And that included, I believe, some things, like a couple things in Snowy and 1 frames in Final Boss. Other than that, I think everything else was fair game. But I wanted to prove to myself that I could beat that time without having to, you know, do newer strats, which is kind of stupid. But I mean, it was just a thing for me.
Ooh. Got him.
I was really excited when I got this, because I knew I was like really good at this point.
We did it. We finally freaking did it.
I suppose now is a good time to talk about the categories for Jak and Daxter. The reason I never brought them up earlier is because in recent years we've seen a lot of new categories being invented because major skips were found that shortened the game's playtime massively. It was found in January of 2016 that you could skip the 72 power cell requirement to get into Lava Tube by doing a series of out-of-bounds movement and by abusing the game's checkpoint mechanics. I will go more into detail about this later in the video because it will come up again. In December of 2018, Fire Canyon skip became possible on console, and thus was done in runs. This skipped the 20 cell requirement from Hub 1 to Hub 2. This was found with the help of a glitch where you can infinitely bounce on the lava surface, but I could dedicate another video on just this one trick alone, so I won't go into detail on it here. This means that any percent was divided into 3 categories: any percent, no FCS, and no LTS.
And it's funny because no FCS wasn't really a thing until a few months ago. Even though Fire Canyon skip was found, the current version of Fire Canyon skip was done in January 2019, and yeah, we didn't actually make a no FCS category until I want to say late 2019. So yeah, we were a little bit late on that.
Any percent has no restrictions. It allows both of these skips to be used in a run. No FCS disallows the use of Fire Canyon skip, which makes for a nice mid-length category. No LTS disallows the use of Lava Tube skip, so it's essentially old any percent before all of this stuff was found. You can still do Fire Canyon skip in no LTS, but it's way slower. Earlier in the video I mentioned that Josh had taken down Headstrong's any percent world record with his 56.24. By the time he beat the record, the category had already seen a name change to no LTS. The 3 any percent categories, 100%, and Orbless are seen as the most relevant categories by the community. But if you click on the miscellaneous tab on the speedrun.com leaderboards, you can see that all orbs, all flies, and no major skips exist as well. All orbs require you to collect all 2000 precursor orbs with no restrictions on the skips. All flies is the same thing, you must collect 112 scout flies in the game with no restrictions on the skips either. No major skips is a very old category that has remained on the leaderboards due to historical reasons.
And that's about it.
Perform Lava Tube skip.
Let's skip over that.
Josh is starting to pick up steam. He was no longer an upcoming player or a rising star, but one of the game's top players. He got the world record for 2 of the miscellaneous categories, including the first 102 in no major skips on.
This was the time where I think this is when I had finally got the first sweep of Jak 1, like all the main categories and all the miscellaneous categories. This is when I got the first sweep with this time.
June 1st, and the record in all
June 1st, I think you said? June 1st, was that 2016, 2017? I think it was 2017. But yeah. It was also the day that, or no, I think, frick, I don't know, man. I'm tripping, dude. I'm tripping.
On
okay.
August 31st.
Never mind.
Alright,
But yeah.
21. I'll take it, dude.
Josh was also improving his own records in no LTS, not being satisfied with just simply achieving the records. He wanted to go lower. He
That's when I started
56-24
implementing the new
3
strats.
times in December to 56.22, 56.21, and finally 56.13 on December 20th. These times are getting really optimized. And at this point, it seems that only Josh is able to take some of these games' categories lower. The question started to be on people's minds that Josh could just be the new best player in the game, and the following events certainly proved that. What was next in store for Josh is one of the most important grinds in the community's history, and would come to shape one of the most praised runs of all time. Before Fire Canyon skip was found in late 2018, Josh wanted to push himself as hard as he could in any percent, or no FCS as it would be dubbed once the skip was found. This push for the God Run was incredible to watch, so incredible that I need to dive a little deeper into what it takes to complete a good run of no FCS for you to fathom what I'm talking about. Old any percent or no FCS is a very brutal category. You require 20 cells to get through Fire Canyon, which means you need to do Geyser Rock, the opening level, Forbidden Jungle, and Sentinel Beach. The first hub can be quite tricky as your movement needs to be flawless because every second is going to start to matter. And the first hub is where your movement really gets pushed to the test. Any small bonk or mistimed roll jump can be the end of the run. You then need to head to Fire Canyon and arrive in the second world. For the speedrun, you don't go around collecting any power cells at all in the second hub. You require 45 cells to lift the boulder to get into the claw boss fight, but this is very easily skipped with some tight maneuvers. This is not very difficult to perform for top players, but you can still fail it if you do it too fast. Next,
it's funny because like a lot of top players now will still fail boulder skip time and time again because it's a weird trick.
is the claw boss fight I was on about earlier. You need to get the lava walk first try to retain your 4 health to perform lava tube skip.
See that 4/22 on the right? That was me keeping track of how many times I have gotten lava walk and how many times I had failed it during this current grind of any percent, I guess. And so yeah, 4 out of 22 was you can do the math there. It's not very good. That's under 20%. Oh. Oi.
Unnecessary, your run is over. As mentioned previously, this trick is a 1 in 4 on a good day, which means to get the world record, you need to accept the fact that more or less 75% of your runs end here. In some other categories, you don't need to be at 4 health for the run, so if you burn yourself on the rock, you can try the skip again, but in no FCS, you have to get it on your first go, and fast too. After that, you go through Mountain Pass into the third hub, Volcanic Crater. This is where stuff gets somewhat complicated because we're about to start the sequence that leads to lava tube skip. I already touched upon what you're skipping with this trick, but now it's time to get technical. The first goal for lava tube skip is to get out of bounds. This can be done by doing something known as a rocket uppercut. What you have to do to perform the trick is uppercut into a certain plank on the minecart rail. The reason it's this specific one is
I hate
there's
that.
some strange collision in some areas of the game that allow you to repeatedly jump into the ceiling. This is because the game is giving you a standpoint for a short duration. This was appropriately named an infinite jump ceiling. Once you perform the uppercut, you get the standpoint while the momentum from the uppercut is still going. So once you reach your max height, you go into the first person goggles. You cannot open the goggles normally if you're in the air, so the reason we need the grounded standpoint is for this reason. This can all be quite tricky to perform and often won't be first try. After exiting the goggles, you need to do an extended uppercut towards the rocks on the left. Once you're out of bounds, you go through the trigger to load in lava tube. You then stand still for 30 seconds to trigger Jack's idle animation, which stores lava tube in the game's memory. You then have to go back to get the checkpoint for the third hub, Volcanic Crater. After that, you go back into lava tube but do a very precise extended uppercut around the first checkpoint trigger in the level. Now you need to traverse through lava tube on foot without the zoomer that you unlock at 72 power cells. This is done by jumping on as many areas as possible in the lava tube that don't have hitboxes. We often refer to these areas as cold spots. There are a total of 3 times where the distance is too great for Jack to traverse without taking damage. This is why we need 4 health all throughout the run so we can lose 3 of them to perform lava tube skip.
That was close.
If you get hit unnecessarily at all, the run is over completely. Once you have reached this scout fly box, you need to do a boosted uppercut on the side of the box to reach the next cold spot. Since you did the extended uppercut earlier that skipped the first checkpoint in the level, now when you do the same idle animation trick in this location, after 30 seconds you need to do a pause buffer, which requires you to press R1 and start on the same frame, which deloads.
Did you say R1?
Buffer, which requires you to press R1 and start on the
R2 and start.
frame, which deloads Volcanic Crater. This makes the game give you the assumed closest checkpoint, which is halfway through lava tube. If we did not deload Volcanic Crater by doing the pause buffer, we would have been put back there. Once that is over with, at the end of lava tube, you need to perform 2 more pause buffers that is used to skip cutscenes that usually take several minutes. You also need to nail both of these first try for optimal time save. One is for the Kira portal cutscene, and one is going through the door entering Golan Maya Citadel. After that, it's on to the final boss, which isn't difficult casually, but in the speedrun after each phase of the boss's attack, you can lower the jump height of Jack by doing a frame-perfect spin input on the jump pad.
I don't know if you guys caught that.
Which isn't difficult casually,
This
but
was
in the speedrun after each...
So, for some reason, like, there are standpoints where these orange rings kind of blow up, like the center of those rings have standpoints. And what happened was when I jumped, I stood on one of those standpoints and Jack started to go into a sliding animation. And a sliding animation means, 1, you can't jump again, 2, you can't spin. All you can do is use your left stick and try to get out of it, try to like ledge grab something or land on some other terrain. And so I realized that at this point right here, I was screwed. I got into the sliding animation and I realized, okay, I die here or I try and ledge grab. And it was very like split. It was a very split second decision. It was, yeah. So I ended up getting a ledge grab right here. Luckily.
You can lower the jump height of Jack by doing a frame-perfect spin input on the jump pad. You need to press X to jump on the jump pad, and then exactly 15 frames later, you need to spin by pressing circle at this exact time to lower Jack's height, which starts the next phase of the boss earlier. This can be done 3 times and saves 2 seconds each, which is just more difficult tricks on top of an already hard run at this point. At the very end, you have to grab the white eco to finish the run, which can spawn anywhere in the arena, but is more likely to spawn far away from you. As you can see, it is a very brutal run with many run killers. The early history of No FCS was mostly worked on and lowered by Headstrong. She was the first person to do a full run with lava tubes.
Headstrong does not get enough credit for this. This is hard.
Clocking in at 37:43. As time went on, lava tube skip got easier to perform and Headstrong was soon not the only person being able to perform the skip. But she was the one to bring it all the way down to the 25s and eventually the first 24 with 24:57. Josh got his hands involved as well, getting his first world record in the category with 24:46.
Okay, so this run right here, this run right here is nuts because I had a 24:59 at the time. Headstrong had 24:57, right? Like she got it, and then like some days later, I got 24:59. Right now, you know, it was sub 25, but I wanted to keep going for record, obviously, and I was grinding day in and day out for that record. And I had given up at some point, and I just stopped playing the category. And then one day, I decided to do an all categories run, and I figured I'd start with any percent because that's it was the shortest category, and it was the only category at the time with lava tube skip in it. So I figured I'd get it out of the way first. And then I got this run, this 24:46 with just no pressure on me whatsoever. And yeah.
This run is an interesting piece of history, actually. It was supposed to be a run where Josh would complete a run of every category in the game back to back. He started with no FCS because it's the hardest category of them all, so if he had to reset, it's best to get that one out of the way first. Miraculously, however, he ended up getting a new world record in no FCS, ending up breaking down in tears and simply couldn't continue the all categories run.
Yep.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
The first time I cried for a run. Right here, ladies and gentlemen.
I have legitimate tears in my eyes.
This run is also often referred to as the Nibor run, since this run sparked up a very infamous YouTube comment that moved on to become somewhat of a meme in the community. Feel free to read the whole thread for a laugh. From here on out, Josh's only competition in no FCS is that of old school runner Sir Jazzberry, who lowered the record to 24:43, but Josh took it back the next day with 24:40. This run was really good for the strategies utilized, but crumbled towards the very end. Josh had a 12-second lead going into the late game, including a first try rocket uppercut. He got a slightly sloppy oranges room, as we call it.
First try rocket uppercut is very rare. You don't see that very often. So this run was kind of yeah, it was good.
He missed the cutscene skip on the Kira cutscene at the end of Lava Tube.
Then I choked it.
About 6 seconds. And he missed all 3 of the 1-frame jumps.
Want to clarify, I didn't go for all 3. I don't think I went for any of them, actually. I figured that if I didn't go for any of them, I knew I would still get the record, and that was what was important at the time. So I just didn't do them.
On the final boss. Despite all these mistakes, Josh left the category for a while to focus on other things. He would come back and lower his time to 24:34, and Jazz would improve upon this to 24:30 in the coming months, but no one would really make a hard push for the category for a while. The real battle between Josh and Jazz wouldn't take place until October of 2018, where they would trade and lower the world record a total of 6 times until Josh got a 24:18.
This was so stupid. Jazz beating his own time by 1 second, and then I beat his time by 1 second, and then he beat my time by 1 second. And then, yeah, then I just popped off, but yeah.
At this point, they were using every minor movement optimization that they could. I mean, the first level alone, Guys of Ruck, is done 2 very minor until
I wonder...
Josh got a 24:18. At this point, they were using every minor movement optimization that they could. I mean, the first level alone, Guys of Ruck, is done 2 seconds faster than when Josh got his 24:46. Josh's 24:18 was really good. The only things he could improve upon at this point was movement. In Forbidden Jungle, Josh grabbed the ledge on the tower climb, costing him a second.
Oof.
The tower climb at Sentinel Beach cost him a second.
Oof.
He nailed the 1 in 4 claw skip first try, but lost a tiny bit of time from a bad camera angle after the skip. He once again first tries rocket uppercut and gets lava tube skip with ease. He hits the 2 frame perfect cutscene skips, and his final boss hits 1 of the 3 1-frame jumps. A great run, but the ultimate run was brewing in the back. Josh pushed himself the hardest he ever has, and grinded for absolute perfection because he wasn't settling for anything but that. The run I'm about to show you is perhaps the best Jak and Daxter speedrun of all time.
I love this run.
The strategies utilized,
so
and for
much.
how brutal this route is, this is in many people's opinion, the apex. On October 25th, 2018, Josh would start the attempt that would go on to be the run. His early game was average, only a few seconds behind his best. Slowly but surely, he just saved more.
Yeah, I lost 3 seconds in Forbidden Jungle, which was, you know, nearly reset worthy. I was about to reset this run, which is wild. And then Sentinel was just literally perfect. Yeah.
His movement was on point.
And then Fire Canyon was literally perfect. Rock Village was as good as it gets.
First try. And this time, he walks to the right for a slightly more optimal line and to avoid the bad camera. At this point, Josh realizes his pace is amazing, and it gets to him a little bit. His movement was a bit shaky heading over to the rocket upper.
Your boy was shaking, man. I was shaking. Right there, too. And then somehow first try.
He nails it first try and quickly, too.
Don't know how.
The tube skip goes flawlessly.
Yeah, this was beautiful. Can't believe I even did this. Still can't believe I did this.
With this enormous pressure, Josh nails both of the frame perfect cutscene skips and moves on yet again to the last boss. Being in the chat live when something like this is going down is incredible. The intensity floating in the air is so bad that you can't handle it. It's gonna come down to the 1-frame jumps.
Getting all 3 1-frames here would have made this a 24:04, which is like insane. I mean, anything sub 24:10 was considered the god run. Like, me and Jazz were kind of talking about it, and we were like, yeah, sub 24:10 would be like the run. Like, no one's gonna beat that. Frick. Yeah, I missed the last 1 frame. However, I still got quick shots, so I still got most of that time back. Please. So I still got the quick shot, the insta shot there. And so that kind of saved me. Oh my god.
When everything was set in stone and the final cutscene was playing, I knew that I was witnessing history. This is the reaction we got.
Man.
Oh my god. I can't. I freaking did it. I freaking did it. I freaking did it. Oh my god.
I still love this run.
Oh my god.
This is still my favorite run ever.
2408. I freaking did it. I freaking did it.
This was nuts. Like there was no words for this.
Oh my god, I did it. I'm so glad I stuck with this freaking category. I was about to break down. Like, I
think it's good to note that my summer best was a 23:51 at this time. So, and the run was retimed at 24:07. So I ended up being 16 seconds behind my summer best, which is
I was days away
unheard
from
of.
breaking down, dude, like completely. I was so close.
In a category like
I
this,
broke
like
down to jazz, man. Like I couldn't do it. At
yeah,
one point, I could.
I was literally talking to Jazz like that. I think it was the day before I got this run, and I was telling him like, yeah, this is too much. Like I can't do this for much longer. I straight up told him that, and he was like, yeah, like this is you know, it's a rough category. So
Can't do it anymore. Seeing 2408 like it's actually real. It's actually real. Yo, who's chopping onions in here, man? 2408.
I think at this point it was solidified. If Outrageous Josh wasn't already the best of all time, this run certainly proved it. I knew when I was making this video it was going to be difficult to balance how much time I should talk about the game and how much I should be focusing on Josh. But I knew from the very start that if I had to include one run that described Josh the best, it's this one for sure.
I love that.
The amount of hard work it took for him to get this time is insane, and I take my hats off for completing such a great run even with all the nerves. The run would later be retimed to 24:07 and would not be beaten for 14 months. And only with the help of a route change that saved a lot of time, it was lowered.
Yeah. Yeah.
If a route change hadn't been
Shout out to
discovered,
Mike.
who knows how long the 24:07 would have stood for. If we fast forward to February of
Long time.
Josh swept the entire leaderboard for Jak and Daxter, holding the world record in every single category, and as of making this video, he still holds all of them. A massive congrats to Josh for this amazing achievement. The skill and perseverance after playing the game for 6 years is remarkable. The crazy thing is, Josh doesn't only excel at Jak and Daxter. He has a top 5 time in Jak 2, has a top 5 time in SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, and was formerly top 3 in Ratchet & Clank 2. While this video is primarily on Josh, I do want to give a special thanks to all the Jak 1 runners who pushed him to achieve the times that he got. Sir Jazzberry is an invaluable runner and is maybe the person that helped Josh the most in achieving the 24:07.
Love
Headstrong
Jazz.
for pushing the game in its earlier stages.
Love Headstrong.
And the 2 newcomers, Chimforce, who prevented the sweep from happening
Love Chim.
in the All Flies category until Josh got it back. And Mike, who had a heated battle with Josh over the no FCS record when the new route came out. And who also seems to have the best shot at taking the world record in 100%.
Big
Josh is also
facts.
incredibly close to partnership on his Twitch channel. If you want to go drop him a follow and help increase his viewership, that little extra push is all he needs to be eligible to apply.
Man.
I want to thank you very much for watching. The recent support from the previous Sly video was overwhelming. So I've now went ahead and made a Patreon where you can support me if you want to see more videos like this.
Shout out to Ricky,
I'm still
man.
new to YouTube creation and Patreon stuff.
This
If
is-
something seems off, or if I'm forgetting something,
Did you
please
say
let me
anything
know in the
else?
comments.
I don't remember.
appreciate all feedback. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. There will be more coming soon. Take care, and have a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, shout out to Ricky. I didn't, you know, like, when he told me that he was making this video, I was like, whoa. Like, I knew it was going to be a lot of work, and it shows he really put a ton of work into this. But I hope the insight kind of I don't know, helped you figure out where I was coming from in each of these parts of my speedrunning career. And frick it, here's to more, I guess. Here's to more. There's gonna be another video kind of talking about the world record progression, and there's even more story of mine. You know, that'll be told through that, I'm sure. But this was fantastic, and I'm so glad Ricky made this. So yeah. Peace out.